Ndị be anyị ndewonu. Ọ bụ Ada Igbo na-ekwu na Igbo Media. N'Igbo Media, anyị na-ewetara unu ọtụtụ ozi gbasara ihe na-emegasị na Biafra Land, n'ala Igbo na mba ndị ọzọ. N'ụbọchị nke taata, o nwere ihe bịara n'iru akwụkwọ anyị nke anyị ga-agụpụtara unu n'ụbọchị taa. Anyị gụpụtachaa ya, unu egee ya ka ọha n'uju. Ị ga-esie ya, ị drọpụọla your comment, like kwa this our video and gbasakwa ya ka o ruo ụmụnna anyị n'ebe dị iche iche arụ. Ozi anyị wetara unu tata si n'aka otu nwanne anyị nwoke, a Biafra activist. Dịka o si wetara anyị ozi ya n'iru akwụkwọ, ọ dere sị: Trump's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern is rooted in ignorance, Senator Ndume of Borno State says on Arise News. Ya bụ ozi ka anyị ji bịa tata na Igbo Media. Ị ga-esi anya bụ ozi, gbaa mbọ gwa anyị iche ma mekwa ka ozi arute ụmụnna anyị n'ebe dị iche iche aka. Ngwa gere ya ka ọha n'uju.
Trump is threatening that he'll go guns a-blazing, as he put it on social media, to tackle Islamist terrorists allegedly committing atrocities against Christians in the north of Nigeria. Mr. Trump said he'd asked the Defense Department to prepare for possible military action in Nigeria if the Nigerian government allows these atrocities to continue. That's been described as a dangerous far-right narrative, the notion of a Christian genocide going on in Nigeria, one that's been simmering for a long time and is now being amplified by President Trump. Both international and local experts on conflict in West Africa say that based on data, claims of a Christian genocide in Nigeria are false, simplistic and divisive, and are only going to further increase instability in the country. They say that armed groups have been targeting both Christians and Muslims, bombing churches and mosques, as well as markets, and attacking every civilian location they can find, with no discrimination between adherents of either religion. However, two U.S. Republican evangelical groups, TruthNigeria.com and another called EquippingThePersecuted.org, say they've gone in after the attacks, counted the bodies, and have eyewitness accounts. They say they've been documenting the killings for the past 2 years, and that in terms of the numbers, the ratio is more than 6 to 1. For every Muslim that's been killed in these conflicts, there are 6 Christians that have been murdered, they say. Well, let's get the thoughts of the former Senate Chief Whip, Senator Ali Ndume, who currently represents Borno South in the Senate. And Borno State, of course, the epicenter of the Boko Haram insurgency. And Senator Ndume joins me now in the studio. Senator, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Charles,
for coming here.
How are you?
Very well indeed. And you?
Alhamdulillah, I came back because of you.
Well, thank you. We're very honored to have you here. This has come from an extremely strongly worded post on President Trump's social media platform, Truth Social. Subsequently, he spoke on Air Force One, saying that the Nigerian government is engaged in severe violations of religious freedom and that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, everybody has come out to deny that. That is not to say that Christians are not being killed. And also, what we have been saying is that it is not only the Christians that are being killed, but Muslims are also being killed. This has been confirmed by both religion and, in fact, other people too. There are people that have been killed. There's a lot of killings going on in Nigeria for the past 16 years or more. That is from the Boko Haram insurgency in 2009. Nobody can deny that. But to say exclusively that it is the Christian that is being targeted depends on where the event happens. If an event happens in Plateau or Christian-dominated area, naturally it is the Christians that will be the victims, as it is now in Benue and Plateau. If you go to other areas that are Muslim dominated, and it depends on what type of criminality that is going on there, the victims are naturally going to be the Muslims. And if a church is attacked, of course, the victims will be Christians in that church. And if a mosque is attacked, it will be, the Muslims basically that will be the victims. And if, of course, an attack such that happened in bus station in Nyanya, where over 400 people were killed, then you find all sorts of
It's indiscriminate.
It's indiscriminate. This is what is going on in Nigeria right now. The Boko Haram, that is the terrorists, the ISWAB and ISIS is going on there. There are the bandits in the northwest that are killing Muslims even in mosques because there are few churches there. And of course in Plateau, churches are being attacked, but that is also between the herdsmen who happen to be Fulanis and the farmers, predominantly Christians. So it is a matter that affects all Nigerians, so to say. So for Trump to have come out to declare that is, I can say, out of ignorance. And you see, I have been to America myself. An average American is innocently ignorant. You find an American who lives in Ohio, grows up in Ohio, and he's never been to Chicago.
I went to university in Ohio, by the way.
And then, but you didn't go to Chicago?
So be careful what you say.
I didn't know.
But I did go, well, actually, I used to go to Chicago. Chicago is just about 5 hours from where I was in Ohio.
So
5 hours drive.
I schooled in Toledo.
I know Toledo very well.
Then
Toledo is in the far north of Ohio.
I arrived because there is no airport in Toledo. I arrived at Dayton, what they call it.
Yeah, I know Dayton.
Okay, so you
Dayton was 30 minutes from where I was in Cincinnati.
Oh, you are in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I was in Cincinnati, then
Cincinnati
Columbus.
to Toledo is also, I think, 30 minutes or less. So you can see an average American from Cincinnati would, grow up, die in Cincinnati without ever being to Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah, it's a very inward-looking society.
So this is, Donald Trump himself does not really know, he's ignorant about what is happening in Nigeria. And that is where the problem is. I raised this alarm on the 7th.
Yes, you had a motion.
I brought
you moved a motion, yeah.
The motion is titled, The Urgent Need to Correct the Misconception Going On, where American senator wants Nigeria to be reclassified again as CPC because we have been on that list when Obama, these guys were.
Well, even Trump. I mean, in Trump's first administration, we were in that list.
But then we were lifted, and that was when we were struggling to get, when the attack of the insurgents, the terrorists, was at its peak, and we desperately needed air support, and like Tucano. Leeway law prevented us from getting that. And Buhari has to go to Washington, meet with Donald Trump, then convince him, because I remember he told me then that Donald Trump looked at him in the face and said, you are there and they are killing Christians. What the hell is going on? And Buhari, being a calm person, allowed Trump to vent out. And he said, look, this is not what's going on. And, he went him through and would prove. I remember that Nigerian top government officials had to go even before ICC to defend Nigeria as to those allegations then. I remember Simon Lalong was the governor of Plateau. He had to go there because there were killings in Plateau too. But surprisingly, when I brought this motion, this government, was really more of indifferent about it, and they were treating it with levity. And look at what is going on now. All have been diverted to making noise, and you don't. Well,
it's a reactionary thing, isn't it? They're now become, rather than being proactive, to have dealt with it.
Yeah,
because on the strength of the motion that people like you put out.
And you remember that this whole problem came out from the American Congress. That is the same as National Assembly in here, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But did you hear National Assembly here doing anything?
Reacting to it.
Reacting to it.
Officially
or proactively. Yeah. When I brought the motion, even the prayers of the motion were stood down, and they said they had set a committee to look at the motion. And look at what has happened now.
That's a very good point. And the U.S. lawmaker Riley Moore is warning the Nigerian government not to test the resolve of the US government under President Trump. He warned that others who had tested the resolve of the Trump administration had failed, and that President Trump had provided forewarning: if you do not correct the current state of inaction, the days of the US looking the other way are over. Those are the words of Riley Moore. He says, we will not allow the gates of hell to prevail against the faithful. That sounds scary, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's the American stuff. You know, one thing good about them is, as they issue these strong warnings, is honestly because they have only had the one side. They didn't hear the other side. And actually, what happened to Christians in Benue State, especially recently, with this town, where I think about 200 people were massacred, and they were buried in a
mass
grave. Anybody that sees that is gruesome, and you cannot, you know. But if you look at, let me give you an example. I'm not trying to say, look, those are that, but all life matters.
Yeah.
In my own village,
that's in Borno State.
In Borno State, our emir was killed by Boko Haram on a street when he was going to Gombe for the condolence of the emir of Gombe that died. In my own local government, elders that were reading Quran, Quranic elders that were reading Quran, 75 of them were taken to slaughterhouse in my village by Boko Haram, and they were slaughtered one after the other. Only one of them escaped because the blood of others covered him, and then he fainted, so they thought he is dead. In my own town, they went to Tijaniya's, just near my father's house. There is one Sheikh Babara, we call him, has 20 of his students slaughtered by Boko Haram. They were lined up like that.
And they're all Muslims.
And they are all Muslims, not only Muslims, but the man is Sheikh. But he is of a different faith. You know, the Boko Haram call themselves Izalatul Bidya wa Ikamati, whatever. But those ones are Tijaniyas. They lined them up. And those that I told you, elderly people, none of them was less than 60. And you can imagine if you have to bury them. In fact, we could not bury them. All we did was to gather their bones, because that time Goza was not accessible at all. So if you look at it on the other side, you see the killings going on. Look at the killings going on in Southeast. By who? It's not by the jihadis, by IPOP. And they're killing who? Christians and Igbos, their own. So this kind of madness that is happening, the government is supposed to take drastic steps.
Yeah. Although they argue that in the Southeast there's also been infiltration from Fulani groups there who are also carrying out their own killings. But yeah, you have a point there. But I mean, are you surprised or perhaps shocked that this is coming from a President Trump, who prides himself on stopping wars? I mean, that's what he said he was coming to do, because his tone here is very aggressive, isn't it? I mean, he's threatening to send US forces into Nigeria with, as he put it, guns a-blazing, if Nigeria doesn't stem what he describes
And
as this killing of Christians by Islamists.
Swift and whatever.
Swift, vicious, and sweet. You know,
Donald Trump is used to that kind of a thing, and that's why the leadership of Nigerian government also will be tested. That is how you respond to it. I told you what happened between him and late President Buhari. And he later came out to say that he respects President Buhari because...
Although he said Buhari put him off to sleep, though.
Daalụ nne maka isonyere anyị n'iru akwụkwọ n'ụbọchị taata na Igbo Media. Ọ bụ na ihe anyị na-ewetara gị dị gị mma, gbaa mbọ gbasaa ozi a ma mekwa ka ozi a rute ụmụnna anyị n'ebe dị iche iche aka. Ngwa ka ọ dị.